Yeah, I am. Please confirm my voice is audible or not. Okay, thank you. Okay, so as part of yesterday's session, we discussed about case statement and we discussed about coalesce. Okay, so when we need to go for case statement, whenever you want to apply multiple conditions with multiple values, then we can use case statement. And what about coalesce function? To replace null values with not null values, we can use coalesce function. What is the syntax of coalesce? You have to give flags out. We can pass column 1, column 2, column 3. Like this, we can able to pass any number of values. How it will work? Whatever first column is having not null value, that column data will display in output. Okay, so as part of yesterday's session, we discussed about case and we discussed about the coalesce and we discussed about the multiple examples in the combination of case and coalesce handling. Now, in the same way, in the today's session, we'll try to understand some other topics. Just 1 second. Okay. Now, for example, I'm having data like this in my table, and in this table, we are having some data like this. Okay. Now, my requirement is in this table, I want to get the output data like this, and in the output, I want to get data for EAD column and DAD column. And EAD column, I want to get the same data as is, but coming to DAD column, I want to get output like this. Wherever we are having the department ID as a 10, I want to get output as a null. For remaining records, I want to get the data as is. So this is the requirement. If you see the requirement, what I'm telling here, I want to get the data for EAD column as is, but coming to DAD column, what is the requirement? Wherever DAD is equal to 10, for those columns, I want to get values as a null values. Wherever department ID is equal to 10, for those records, populate department ID value as null. So wherever department ID is equal to, if you see this example DID, wherever we are having 10, what data I want to populate? I want to populate this value as a null value, and 20 and 30, I don't want to populate any kind of null values. So this is my one more requirement. Now you people try to give the answer how we can able to achieve this requirement by using the SQL query. Am I audible?
With case statement.
With the case statement, you tell me with case statement how we can able to frame the query here.
Case when DID is equal.
First I'm given the EAD column because first column we need to populate the EAD column. After that, case.
When DID is equal to 10.
DID is equal to 10. Okay.
Then null.
Then how to use the null?
Is null.
Is null. Is null we are applying for the conditions. Here I want to populate the null value. So what we can do directly, we can give it as a null, or we need to give it as a null in the single quotes.
String, yeah, it's null.
The single quote, what will happen? It will take it as a null value, or it will take it as a hardcode value.
Hardcode value.
It will take it as a hardcode value, but my requirement is I want to populate it as a null value. So what we have to do, we need to give the null without single quote. So case when DID is equal to 10, then null. What next?
Else DID.
Yes, DID, because only for 10 I'm having the requirement like this. Other than 10, if it is 20 or 30 or anything, I want to populate the same department ID and after that just give it as an end keyword. After that, I'm giving ls name as department ID from employee table. This is the way simply we can able to achieve the requirement. We are not discussing any new topic in this example. Whatever the examples we discussed, just I'm repeating the one more example here. If it is 10, I want to populate values as a null. Otherwise, I want to populate the same department ID. By considering that indirectly, we need to apply the kind of the if else logic. To implement the if else logic, what we can do here, we can able to apply the case statement. By using the case statement, we can able to frame the query like this. With that, we can able to achieve the requirement. But now my question is, without using the case statement, I want to achieve the same requirement. Then what we have to do? This is the correct query. I'm not telling this is the wrong one. This is the perfectly correct query. But without using the case statement, I want to achieve the same requirement. What we have to do? Any guesses? Okay. Indirectly, as per the requirement, in how many categories we have to divide the data? As per the requirement, in how many categories we need to divide the data? If it is 10, I want to populate values as a null. Otherwise, for all remaining data, I want to populate the same department ID, which is nothing but indirectly, I want to divide the whole data into two categories. And what are those categories? First one, department ID is equal to 10 is the one category. What is the other category we can able to say? What is the second category?
20 and 30 comes into one category.
DID not 10.
We can give it as
Not
not
10.
equal to 10.
Equals to 10.
Yes.
We can give it as a not equal to 10. Indirectly, I want to divide the entire data into two categories. One is equal to 10, one is not equal to 10. With that, I want to populate the data. So what we can do here, just we can give it as select EID comma DID from employee table, where department ID, when you want to populate the same DIDs as it is, when DID not equal to 10. If it is not equal to 10, then I want to populate the same department ID. For that reason, in the select statement, we are given the EID comma DID from employee table. When it need to populate the same department ID, where department ID not equal to 10. Now, I am going to write the one more query for the second category. Select EID comma DID from employee table, where DID is equal to 10. But tell me, is the correct query or wrong query?
Union.
No, this second query I'm asking. For the second category, is it the correct query or wrong query? When department ID is equal to 10, in the DID column, what data you want to populate? I want to populate the null values. I want to populate the same department ID. I want to populate null. So what we have to do, we need to as a null. I'm giving ls name is nothing but department ID. Select EID comma null as department ID from employee table. But when you want to populate null for the department ID, if department ID is equal to 10, then only you want to populate the null values for the department ID. For that reason, we are given the query like this only. Now in between both the queries, what we have to apply? We need to apply simply union operator. So because here, if I'm going to run the first query, we are going to get only 3 records. If I'm going to run the second query, we are going to get the only 2 records. But I want to get the combined output only. So if you want to get the combined output, what we have to do here? We need to apply the union operator indirectly to achieve this requirement. By using union operator, we can able to frame the query, or by using the case statement also, we can able to write the query by depending on our requirement. Okay. Now here my question is, without using the union operator or without using the case statement, I want to achieve the same requirement. No union, no case.
You can use coalesce.
Coalesce. Tell me how to use the coalesce here. Someone is saying that by using the coalesce, we can able to achieve the requirement. But try to give the answer how we can able to use the coalesce as part of this example. When we need to go for coalesce?
If you want to convert null values to
Not null values. But tell me, in this whole example, are we converting any null values to not null values? In this whole example, are we converting any null values to not null values, or we are converting not null values to null values?
Not null values to null values.
Then can we able to use the coalesce function here?
No, sir.
All right, but most of the people use the answer. We need to go for coalesce, but that's a completely wrong answer. Here we cannot able to use coalesce. What's the reason? We can able to use the coalesce function whenever you want to convert the null values to not null values, then we need to go for the coalesce function. But here my requirement is I want to convert the not null values to the null values, and so for that reason here we cannot able to use the coalesce function. Then what we can do here? Very simple. As per the requirement, whenever you want to convert not null values to null values, in that situation we are going to use the one more function called as a nullif function. So this is the one more operator or one more function which we are going to use for the purpose of achieving the requirement. And just I will add the statement here. Nullif. As per the requirement, if you want to convert not null values to null values, then we have to use nullif function. So yesterday we discussed about how to convert the not null values to not null values. But today's requirement is I want to convert the not null values to null values only. Whenever we are having such kind of requirements, simply we can able to use the nullif function. And syntax also very simple. Just we have to give it as nullif of column 1, comma value 1. So we have to give the syntax is nothing but nullif of column 1, comma value 1. This is the way we can able to pass the syntax. Now in our example, we have to give it as simply nullif of department ID, comma 10. So this is the way we need to pass the syntax for our requirement. And in our requirement, what is the requirement? If department ID is equal to 10, I want to populate the value as a null value. For all other values, I want to get the same department ID. So to achieve this requirement, we are going to use the nullif function. If you want to use the nullif function, this is the syntax we need to use. Now in our example, to achieve our requirement, what we can do, simply we have to give it as a nullif of department ID, comma 10. By using this, you can able to convert all department ID values wherever we are having 10. We can able to convert those values as null values. Okay, just we'll run the query in the database set and we'll see the output.
Sir, what's the difference while converting not null to null, null to not null?
Yeah, no, you won't tell me.
In
So,
both, we are converting null to.
No. See, first one I'm converting not null to null. First example. Second example, I'm converting null to not null. Okay. What is the meaning of converting not null to null? In my table, I'm having the value as a 10. But while populating the data, what's the value I'm populating? Null. Okay. But coming to second example, in the table data, we are having this value as a null. But coming to output, I'm populating, for example, this value as a 10. Okay. Now you tell me by seeing both the examples, Andy, both are same or both are different?
Different.
Whomever asked the question. So here 10 is a not null value, but as per the requirement in the output, what I'm doing here, I'm converting this 10 to the null value by depending on my requirement. Indirectly, you are converting not null value to the null value in the first requirement. But coming to second requirement, what I'm doing here, in the table we are having null. But while populating the data into my output screen, wherever we are having null, I want to populate that value as a 10. Indirectly, you are converting here null to not null. Now you tell me both are same or both are different here? Both are
Different.
completely different.
Then we in both these conditions, then where we use nullif?
Yeah, you want to tell me.
First one.
Based on our discussion, you try to give the answer. Whenever you want to convert null to not null values, what is the function we have to use as per the discussion? Null to not null.
Coalesce.
We need to go for
Coalesce.
okay. But if you want to convert the not null to null, then what we have to use?
Nullif.
We need to use null. Just now we discussed already. Whenever you want to convert not null values to null values, then what we can do here, simply we can able to use the function called as a nullif function. But if you want to convert null to not null values, then what we can do here, we are going to use the function called as a coalesce function. Okay. Just we'll run one query in the database set, then you can able to get a clear picture. I'm having the table like this. Okay. Now in this table, in the department ID column, we are having 20, for example, and now wherever we are having the 20, for this 20, I want to populate output as a null. For example, I'm giving EID, comma, I'm giving the DID also, and I'm giving nullif of department ID, comma 20. Indirectly, what is the requirement here? Wherever we are having department ID is equal to 20, there I want to populate the values as a null values only. So here I'm giving nullif of DID, comma 20. Indirectly, what it means, if department ID is equal to 20, populate the values as a null. Else, I want to populate this value as the same department ID. Now just I'm going to run the query. Now see what's happening. Just for our understanding, in the same query, I given the department ID column also. Tell me, in the second column, are we applying any function? in the second column. For the DAD column here, are we applying any function in the select statement? No, right?
No.
That's the reason it is given the same data as easily. But coming to third column, DAD one column, what I'm doing here, I'm applying the null if function. When we are applying the null if function, what is happening? Wherever department ID is equal to 20, there for DAD one column, we are getting values as a null values only. Now tell me indirectly, you are converting not null to null or you are converting null to not null in this example?
Null.
In the DAD one column, we are converting not null values to the null values by depending on our requirement. This is the way we can understand simply how we can able to use the null if function by depending on my requirement. Okay. Now in the same way, my one more requirement is in the country, if you see what values we are having, null values. Now my requirement is wherever we are having country is null, there I want to populate the values as a US. Now you try to give the answer, how we can able to frame the query. For example, I'm giving select EAD comma country column from employee table. So if I'm running this query in the country column, we are getting values as a null values. But my requirement is wherever we are having null values in the country column, there I want to populate the data as a US. Then what we can do?
Select EAD.
Okay.
Kasi
Now you need to convert null to not null or not null to null in this example. Null to not null I want to convert. Just for our understanding, I will give the country column also here. Then tell me how to convert the null to not null. Coalesce of country, comma, what is the second value?
Yes.
Yes, we have to give it as a US because wherever country is equal to null, I want to populate that value as a US only. So we are giving it as a US as I'm giving, for example, country one from employee table. Now see, if this is the actual column. This is the column where we update the coalesce function. In the actual column, we are having the null value. But once we update the coalesce function, what is happening? It is converting null value to the not null value. So because we are using the coalesce function, whenever you want to convert null to not null, then we need to go for coalesce. Whenever you want to convert not null value to the null values, in that situation, what we can do here? We can use the function called as a null if function. This is the way simply we can understand when we need to go for null if and when we need to go for the coalesce. Don't get any kind of confusion, or you only try to give the answer. What is the difference between coalesce and null if? Try to give the answer.
Coalesce will convert null to not.
convert null to not null.
Null if
Convert null to not null. Perfect. What about null if?
And null if
not null to null.
not null.
Will convert not null to null.
Null.
It's very simple, and as per the requirement, just we have to take the decision. Whenever you want to convert null to not null, we have to go for the coalesce function. Whenever you want to convert not null to null, then what we can do, simply we can able to use the null if function. This is the way simply we can able to understand when we need to go for null if and when we need to go for the coalesce functions. Okay, but tell me, if you want to achieve these requirements, compulsory do we need to go for coalesce function, or is there any other alternative?
We have other alternatives.
What are those other alternatives? Either we can go for the case statements, or we can use the union operator. Okay, no one will stop you if you want to go to use the case statement or union operator. But the only thing is we need to write the BigQuery compared to these two functions. And if you see our example only in Excel sheet, here we are applying the query like this, or we are applying the query like this. But if you want to achieve the same requirement, what we can do here? Simply we can give it as select EAD comma null if of department ID comma 10 as department ID from employee table. Now same requirement we can able to achieve by using the null if function, or by using the case statement, or by using the union operator. But out of these three queries, what is the simplest query? If you are going to use the null if, that is the kind of a simplest query only. If you want, you can able to write the query like this also, or if you want, you can able to write the query like this also. But already one function is available called as a null if function, and by using this function, we can able to simplify the query. If there is the possibility for simplification of the query, then why we need to go for case and union? It's not required, right? That's the reason. Just I'm telling we can go for the null if function. Now, for example, if you don't know about the null if function, then what you can do, if you want, you can go for the case statement. If you don't know the case statement also, then what we can do, we can able to apply the union operator. Only by depending on our convenience or by depending on our requirement, you can able to frame the queries in any way as part of our real-time projects. Okay. Any questions up here? Please ask me.
Yes, sir. Could you, sir, please open that education code where we execute the code? Yes, sir. My question is that the knowledge function or coalesce function is updating the table or not?
Now you only tell me. So is it updating or it is displaying the data?
Whatever my knowledge, it should not be updated, sir. then if it is not updated, how
Right.
it will be posting US? You first make it null, right? So it is not updated in the table, but in the next query you update to US. If it is not updated in the table, how it update to US?
It's a very basic question. And I think what I'm thinking is we are not at all doing the practice, or if you are doing the practice and if you're asking this question, might be you are not understanding. And what is the purpose of select? It's a very basic question. Other people, if you are also having that kind of confusion, please ask me. Or you people try to give the answer. What is the purpose of the select statement?
Just only retrieving the
To
data.
display the data or to update the data in the table.
Populate.
To
Populate
populate
the
the data or to display the data. I am given the select statement. By using the select statement from that table, I am retrieving the data. That data I am displaying. Now, as part of displaying the data for the country 1 column, I am given the directly country column. I am applying the function here.
Function.
I am applying a function. Why I am applying the function? To display the data in the different format. Okay, I don't want to get the null values. I want to display this data in the different format. To display the data in the different format, which function I'm using here? Coalesce function. Now, because of using the coalesce function, in the output screen, we are getting the data as a US. Why I'm calling it as output screen? Because here we are using the select statement. Whenever we are going to use the select statement, it will display the data in your output. Okay. Coming to second column, if you see the country column, in this country column, are we doing any operations? No, that's the reason. In the table, whatever the data we are having, we are getting the same data in the output screen in the country column. But coming to country 1 column, I given the country or I applied the coalesce function on the country. I applied the coalesce function on top of the country. What is the purpose of the coalesce? To convert null values to not null values, we are applying the coalesce function. For that reason, in the output screen, instead of displaying it as a null, it is displaying this value as a US. Okay, overall, select for the purpose of displaying the data. While displaying the data, if you want to convert the data as per your requirement, either we can go for coalesce function, or we can go for the null function, or we can use any other functions by depending on our requirements. Okay, people whomever raise this question, still if you are having any confusion, please ask me here.
Sir,
No, just one second. Whomever asked this question, is it clear? That person I'm asking.
Sir, could you please write a let's start from country employees. Let's start from employees.
Okay.
It is already null, sir. So
yes,
if it's already null, then it will convert like this. If here it is IND in place of null, if you put IND, then it will not. We will be combined two functions at a time.
No, can you repeat your question? I didn't get that.
Sir, in the country column, two null values are there.
Yes.
So previously it was IND, right?
No, from the beginning onwards, it is null only here in this table.
Then sir, we are okay. I'm sorry for that.
Is it clear now, or still you have any?
Clear now, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, some other persons asked the question. Please continue.
yeah, actually, if we want to convert the department ID 10 value as null and department ID 20 value as null, then how can we?
Yeah, we cannot able to convert the two values at a time. And the coalesce, so if you see, that's really here I given the syntax also like this. If you see here, coming to null, how many values we can able to pass? Only two, column 1, comma value 1. But coming to coalesce, what we can do here? In the coalesce, we can able to pass any number of columns by depending on the requirement. But coming to null, at a particular point of time, what we can do here, we can able to convert only one value to the null value. But your requirement is for both department ID 10 and 20, you want to convert this value as a null. That this is your requirement, right?
Yes.
Now what I'm telling here, by using null if it is not possible. Okay, but what is the alternative then?
Union or case.
By using union or by using the case. Okay, simply what we can do here, case when department ID in 10, 20, then I want to get output as a null. Else I want to get output as a department ID. By using the null, we can able to convert only one value to the null values only. But if you want to convert the multiple values to the null values, then we cannot able to perform that operation directly by using the null function. But what is the alternative we are having? Instead of using the null, again we can go back to the case statement. In the case statement, you can able to pass the condition like this. With this, you can able to write the query. With that, you can able to convert multiple values to null values by depending on your requirement.
Sir, by using the case statement and union, we can perform both the null if to
Yes.
null to null, not
Yes.
null.
Yes. Is there any question?
Sir, for the same place, can you explain union, how to perform union for this?
For which one? For 10 and 20?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you want to tell me. So actually, as per the requirement, again, we need to divide the data into two categories. And the first is EID, department ID from employee table.
Yes.
Okay, what's the condition we need to pass? Try to give the answer from your side.
Here directly use the null.
Department ID not in
Not in
10, 20. What it means? Wherever department ID not in 10, 20, there I want to populate the same department ID values and it. But
yes.
I am going to give the one more query. Select EID, null as a department ID from employee table. What's the condition? Where department ID in 10, 20. Whenever 10, 20 is there, then only I want to populate this DID value as a null value. If it is not in 10, 20, then I want to populate the value as a department ID. This is the way you can able to frame the two different queries. In between both the queries, what we can do, simply we can able to apply the union operator.
Okay.
Is clear?
Okay.
Which is nothing but this requirement we cannot able to achieve directly by using the null if statement, but same requirement we can able to achieve by using either case statement or we can able to achieve by using the union operator by depending on our convenience.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions on this?
Sir, by using the union, can we follow the same order? Like first we have to write not in next.
No, you can give anywhere. So see, actually here
upside down is also.
Now, if I'm given the query 1 union query 2, or if I'm given the query 2 union query 1, is there any difference is going to happen? Both are same or both are different? Both are going to work in the same way, because what is the purpose of the union operator? It will display all the records from the both the queries. And that's the reason if you are given the query 1 union query 2, or if you are given the query 2 union query 1, both are going to give the similar kind of output. Now in the same way, just I will ask the one more question. You people try to give the answer. And I'm giving Q1 minus Q2. Next I'm giving Q2 minus Q1. Now both are same or both are different in this example?
Both are different.
Here, both are different because what is the purpose of the minus operator? It will display all unmatched records from the first query. Okay. Now, if I'm going to run the first query, what is going to happen? This query will give unmatched records of the query 1. But coming to here, it will give unmatched records of the query 2, which is nothing but while using the minus operator, you need to take care which query we are giving first, which query we are giving the second and D. But coming to union operator, what we are doing? If you are giving by using the union operator, you can able to get all the records of the query 1 and query 2. For that reason, if you want, you can give it as a Q1 union Q2, or if you want, you can give it as a Q2 union Q1 by depending on your convenience. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Just for understanding and mentioning twice, these both are same, but coming to here, these both are not same. Okay, any other questions? Any other basic questions or complex questions? If you people are having, please ask me. All right, okay. Nice. Now, just I want to ask one quick question. When we need to go for set operators?
Whenever we want to combine.
As per the requirement, whenever you want to perform merging operation between multiple tables in vertical direction, then we have to use set operators. Already we discussed about this from last 3-4 classes onwards only. Now, here my question is, to perform merging operation between multiple tables in horizontal direction.
Joins.
Then what we can do here? Simply we can go for the joins. Okay. So by depending on the requirement, whenever you want to perform the merging operation between multiple tables in the horizontal direction, then what we can do here? Here we are going to use the joins only. And one more important thing here, most of the people will think that joins are complex. Okay. And as part of demo sessions or as part of interacting with the students also, people are asking the question, sir, do we need to learn the database concepts for cloud data engineering? What is the answer? I'm going to say definitely yes. Then there are asked that most of the students are given the answer like this only. They are saying that I know up to joins. From joins, I don't know anything. Most of the people will think like this, or most of the students will give this kind of statement when I'm discussing with them only. So they are saying that I know up to the joins. From joins, I don't know anything. Indirectly, what is their feeling or what is your feeling? And people are feeling that joins are kind of a complex topic. But trust me here, joins are kind of a very, very, very simple topic. Only thing is nothing but here we need to understand basics of joins. Then automatically what will happen? It will become very, very easy. Okay, so don't be in the assumption. Joins are very complex and we cannot able to write the queries by using the joins and joins are very, very, very simple. But when it is going to become very, very simple, once you need to understand the basics of the joins, with the basics of the joins, automatically what will happen? Then your joins concept will become as a very, very, very easy. Okay, that's the reason we'll start from the basics on the joins. Slowly we'll go to the advanced topics on the joins and so first one, when we need to go for the joins, to perform merging operation between multiple tables in the horizontal direction, then we have to use the joins. We'll take one example. With the example, we'll try to understand what is the meaning of the statement.
We are discussing like vertical and horizontal. So same meaning like column level and row level, is that the way we can call it?
Yeah, actually, if you remember all our previous examples, wherever we are using the union, what we are doing, Andy? We are merging all the data in the vertical direction. We are merging the rows or columns?
Rows.
Rows. Okay. Now see, for example, this is the data we are having in the two different tables. And now tell me, in this example, are we using one table or we are using the multiple tables? We are using multiple tables. Okay. Now here my requirement is, I want to get the data like this. I want to get data for all these columns from the first table, EID column, ename column, and department ID column. And from this table, I want to get data for the dname column. So what need to happen? So I want to get data for EID column and ename column and department ID column from one table. All these columns data I want to get from the employee table, and this data I want to get from the department table. Now in the department table, I want to get data for department name. Now in this department name, what data we need to populate? If you see here, we are having department ID for this 10 in this table. What's the value we are having on the XX, which is nothing but here I want to get output as XS. Second record XX, third record YY, fourth record YY, fifth record ZZ, because here we are having the 30 corresponding to 30, we are having the value as a ZZ. That's the reason here I want to populate the value called as a ZZ. So this is the way I want to get the output as per the requirement. Now first to try to understand here, as per the requirement, are we doing merging operation between both the tables or not? In between employee table and department table, are we doing any merging operation or not? EID, ename, department ID columns are coming from the first table.
Yes.
And what about the department name? This column data is coming from the second table. Indirectly, as part of getting the data into the output screen, are we doing merging operation between these two tables or not? First question. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Now, next question. Are we doing merging operation here vertically or we are doing the merging operation horizontally?
Horizontally.
We are doing merging operation in the horizontal direction. Now you tell me, to achieve this kind of requirements to perform merging operation between multiple tables in the horizontal direction, we need to go for set operators or we need to go for the joins?
Join.
We need to go for joins. Okay, just by seeing this simple example, just to try to understand why we are going for joins. And as per the requirement, I want to get data from the two different tables, and indirectly here I want to perform the merging operation between both the tables. While performing the merging operation, I want to perform this merging operation in the horizontal direction, not in the vertical direction. For that reason, what we are doing here, we are going to apply the concept called as a joins. Okay, now if you want to apply the joins, we need to understand how we need to frame the query. How we need to frame the query. Generally, what we are doing, we are simply given the query called as select star from table name. This is the way generally we are writing the query. So as of whenever we are giving the select statement, but as part of this requirement, you want to get the data from the one table or you want to get data from the multiple tables only? We need to get data from the multiple tables as part of using my join. So what I have to do here, for example, I am giving select star from employee table. This is the first table. And coming to second table here, I need to give the second table is nothing but department table. So because I want to get data from the two different tables, one is the employee table and second one is the department table. Now in between these two tables, simply we are going to apply the keyword called as nothing but join keyword. So what we are doing here as part of writing the query, it's the same select statement only, select star from the table, but other than one table, what we are doing here, we are given the one more table called as a department table. Now in between these two tables, what we are applying? We are applying the keyword called as a join keyword only. Up to here, any complexity? This query, so far we have written all the queries by using the select star from the table. So far we are dealing with a single table. That's the reason directly we are giving it as a select star from the table. But in this example, we are dealing with the multiple tables. For the reason, what I'm doing here, I have given the select star from the table 1 and I'm given the second table as a table 2. Now in between both the tables, what is the keyword we are applying? We are applying the keyword called as a join keyword. Okay. Now, whenever we are going to apply the join keyword, we need to apply one condition. Generally, whenever you want to apply the condition, which keyword we are using, Andy? Whenever you want to apply the filter conditions, what is the keyword we are using so far? We are using where. But tell me, here you want to apply the normal condition or you want to apply the join condition in this example? I want to apply the join condition. Whenever you want to apply the join condition, we need to use the keyword called as a on keyword. What is the keyword we have to use? We need to use the keyword called as a on keyword. By using the on keyword, we need to provide the join condition. Now you try to give the answer. What is the difference between the where clause and on clause? Any guesses? Where clause we are applying for normal condition. What is the meaning of normal condition? For example, I want to give the condition as where department ID is equal to 20. That kind of condition we can able to call it as a normal condition. If you want to apply the normal condition, then what is the keyword we are using? We are using the keyword called as a where keyword ID. But as per the requirement here, I want to apply the join condition. If you want to apply the join condition, what is the keyword we have to use? We need to use the keyword called as nothing but on keyword. But what is the meaning of join condition? Now see here. While writing the data here in the Excel sheet manually, in between these two tables, what we are checking? Here, I have written all this data manually in the Excel sheet. One by one record I have written manually. While writing this data manually in the Excel sheet, in between these two tables, what I am checking? I am checking here DID column, here also DID column. 10 corresponding value is XS. Second record 10 corresponding value is nothing but XX. 20 corresponding value is YY. 30 corresponding value is nothing but ZZ. Indirectly, as part of writing this entire value here, in between these two tables, what I am checking, Andy? I am checking the data between these two columns. Which columns? DID column and DID column. I am checking the data. Based on that, I am given the values for the DNAME column. In the Excel sheet, you are doing all these operations manually. That is fine. But as part of writing the SQL query, how database system can able to understand in between these two tables, I need to verify data between these two columns. How it can able to understand? It can able to understand automatically, or we have to specify that information? As a user, you have to specify that information in between these two tables by using which column you want to compare the data. Based on that, which values you want to populate, all this information we have to specify in the SQL query. To give that information only, what we are using here, we are using the join condition only. But if you want to apply the join condition, what is the keyword we are using? We are using the keyword called as a on keyword. Now try to give the answer. What is the condition we need to apply? In between those two tables, what is the column we are checking? DID column to DID column we are checking. For the reason here, just we have to give it as a DID is equal to DID. So this is the join condition we are applying, and try to understand what is the meaning of the join condition. When you are trying to retrieve the data from the two different tables, in between these two tables, we are checking the data for a particular column. In this example, we are checking the data for the department ID column and department ID column. Based on that, we are populating the data for the department name in the Excel sheet or in the output screen. To perform all these operations, we are having the dependency on DID column of employee table and DID column of the department table. For that reason, to specify this information in the SQL query, what we are applying? We are applying the join condition. How we are going to apply the join condition? We are applying the join condition by using the keyword called as a on keyword. So this is the way simply we can able to frame the SQL statement. Okay. Up to here, any confusions or questions, please ask me. It's very simple. Only thing is nothing but just you have to write the same select statement. Select star from the table name. But in this example, we are using the multiple tables. For that reason, I have given the table 1 and I have given the table 2. And in between these two tables, what is the keyword we are applying? We are applying the keyword called as a join keyword. Whenever you are applying the join keyword, we need to apply the join condition. To apply the join condition, we are using the keyword called as a on keyword. What is meant by join condition? In between these two tables, by using which column we are verifying the data, to specify that information, we are going to apply the join condition. In this example, in between these two tables, we are verifying the data for the department ID column. For that reason, we are giving the condition called as nothing but department ID is equal to department ID. Okay. Any questions up to here? Please ask me. Any basic question also please ask me, because as I told you earlier, once you understand these kind of basics information, then writing the queries by using joins will become very, very easy. That's the reason, if you are having any basic question also, please ask me here.
Sir, why we need join keyword? Without join keyword also we can do that.
No, if we can do that. So indirectly, for example, here instead of giving the join, simply you can give it as a comma only. But if you are giving it as a comma employee comma department table, what will happen is internally it will take it as a cross join. So to avoid the cross join, we are going to apply the keyword called as a join keyword. And this is the best practice actually. So instead of giving the comma, this is the best practice we need to follow as part of our real-time projects. Whenever we are going to apply the joins, we have to give it as a employee join with the department table. Then we need to apply the on condition. This is the best practice we have to follow as part of our real-time projects.
Yes, both tables has like a different column names. It is mandatory for same column name.
Okay, your question is, for example, here I'm having the DID column. For example, here I'm having the D underscore ID column, which is nothing but in the both the tables we are having the different column names only. Now tell me, can we able to apply the joins or not? Is it your question? Okay, if that is the question, so then in this query, what we will do simply, instead of giving the DID equal to DID, I will give it as a DID underscore DID is equal to D underscore ID. So nowhere I'm saying that both the column names should match ID. What we are checking here, in between these two tables, by using a specific column, we are going to compare the data. That's the reason here we have to specify by using which columns we are doing the comparison. For that reason, here if you want, you can give it as a DID is equal to D underscore ID. Or for example, I'm given the DID is equal to EID. Tell me this query will give any kind of error? No, this query will run. But what is the problem? If I'm going to give the query like DID is equal to EID, or I'm giving it as a EID is equal to DID, is it the correct query I'm asking? In the EID we are having one, but do we have any one here? No. Here we are having two. Do we have any two here? No. 3, 4, 5. Do we have any 3, 4, 5 here? No, which is nothing but this query will give output as a 0 records only, because in between EID column and D underscore ID column, there are no matched records. For that reason, this query will give output as a 0 records. This query will not give any kind of syntax error, because in the join condition, you can pass any columns, but as per the requirement, here I can able to say, as per the requirement, we need to give join condition with proper column names. What I'm telling here, as per the requirement, we need to give the join condition with the proper column names only. Now, in our example, to get this kind of data, you want to compare data between the EID column and DID column, or you want to compare data between the DID column and DID column, as per the requirement. As per the requirement, I want to compare data between the DID column and D underscore ID column. For that reason, actually here we have to give it as a DID is equal to D underscore ID. Now, for example, if I'm giving it as a EID is equal to DID, what will happen? Nothing will happen. Query will execute, but after execution of the query, what will happen? You are going to get output as a 0 records, because in between EID column and D underscore ID column, there are no matched records. And for that reason, this query simply will give output as a 0 records. Is it clear? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If no questions, then try to give the answer here. Now, for example, here I'm given the DID is equal to DID. Now tell me, as part of running this query in the database system, how this query can able to understand this DID from the employee table, this DID from the department table. Database can able to understand automatically?
No, sir. No.
No, right? So just I will run one query here, then you can get some understanding. I think I don't have the department table. I will create the table quickly only. What's the mistake?
The values.
Okay, don't ask me what you are typing or what is the sensor statement, because already we discussed about all these topics in the previous classes. And hope you people did the assignment also. Okay. Now just I added 3 records in this table. So first table is, for example, here I'm giving it as a select star from employee table. And next one I'm giving select star from department table. So now see here we are having the employee table and we are having the department table. And now here what I'm doing is I'm giving the query like this: select star from employee table, join with department table. I'm giving the on condition department ID is equal to department ID semicolon. I'm running this. So what is happening? It is given the syntax error. What is the syntax error? Column department ID is ambiguous. What is the meaning of ambiguous? Same department ID column we are having in the employee table, same department ID column we are having in the department table. Indirectly, your database system or your query cannot able to understand this DID column it need to fetch from the employee table, or this DID column it need to fetch from the department table, because same column present in the both the tables. That's the reason your query getting some kind of confusion, and simply it is given the error called as a your column DID is ambiguous. And now simply to overcome this error, what we can do here is just give it as a table name dot column name. So what I'm doing here, I'm giving it as a first table is this column I want to fetch from the employee table, so I'm giving it as a table name dot column name. And coming to second one, I'm giving it as a department dot department ID. Now you tell me, is there any confusion here? First column I am fetching from the employee table. Second column I am fetching from the department table, which is nothing but you are not having any confusion, and also your database system also not having any kind of confusion. Just I will repeat the query one more time. Select star from employee, join with the department table. I am given the condition as employee dot department ID is equal to department dot department ID. Now see, if I'm going to run this query, what's happening? Without giving any kind of error, this query is executing and it is given the data also on top of your output screen. And so indirectly here I'm trying to say, whenever we are going to apply the join conditions, better to give it as a table name dot column name. So we are going step by step. And first step we understood how we need to give the select star from the table. Second step, we are adding the one more table by using the join keyword. Third step, we are understanding how we can able to give the join condition by using the on keyword. Now we are trying to understand whenever we are given the join condition, what we have to do better? We have to give it as a table name dot column name. Why we are given the column names like this? And table name dot column name we are giving because to avoid ambiguous errors. To avoid kind of ambiguous errors only, what we are doing here, simply we are giving it as a table name dot column name. Now here I can able to say, instead of given the complete table name only, here we are having the one more shortcut. What we can do here is, earlier if you remember, for column names we given the alias names, right? In the same way, for the table names also we can able to pass the alias names, and we can give the alias names, for example, employee table E and department table D. So what I'm doing here, just I'm adding the one more step only. For every table, if you want, we can give the alias names also. But why we are applying the alias names like this? Just to simplify our on condition. Instead of typing the complete table name, what we can do now? Just we can give it as a E dot department ID and D dot department ID. Now you people try to give the answer. What is meant by E dot department ID? E is nothing but employee table, which is nothing but this E dot department ID is equivalent to the employee dot department ID. What is the D dot department ID? D for department table, D dot department ID is equal to department dot department ID and D. So here what we are doing is, instead of giving the complete table name, we are applying the aliasing on the table level. For the table names, we are giving the alias names. By using these alias names, we can able to simplify the join condition. Only for the simplification, we are giving it as a table alias name dot column name and a table alias name dot column name. No sir, I don't want to use the alias name. So then what you can do, simply remove this and give the complete table name. By depending on your convenience, either you can give it as a complete table name, or if you want, you can give the alias names by depending on your convenience only. This is the way simply we can able to understand how we can able to change the join condition by using our aliasing concept. Okay. Again, any question on this query, please ask me. Step 1, single query.
Can I aliasing on
Just 1 second. Step 1, single query. Step 2, 2 queries by using the join keyword. Step 3, we are applying the on condition by using the, we are applying the join condition by using the on keyword. Fourth step, to avoid the ambiguity error, we are giving it as a table name dot column name. Fifth step, instead of giving the complete table name, we are giving the table alias names only. So with this, finally we prepare the query like this. Yeah, someone is trying to ask the question. Please continue now.
Can I alias on the column name also and do it?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah, you can do. We can do the alias. You can do the aliasing at the column level, and you can do the aliasing at the table level at the same query. It won't throw any kind of issues. It will work without having any kind of issues. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Now tell me here. Actually, in this table, how many columns we are having in the employee table? Total 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. In the department table, how many columns we are having? Department ID column and department name column. So here we are having the 4 columns. Here we are having the 2 columns only. Now in this query, I am using the both the tables by using the join keyword. But in the select statement, what I am applying? Star. Now you tell me, because of applying the star here, how many number of columns you are going to get in the output screen? Employee table is having the 4 columns. Department table is having the 2 columns. Now I am applying the join. I am running the query like this. If I am going to run the query by using the select star in this example, how many number of columns we are going to get in the output screen?
5.
All column.
5 columns.
6 column.
5.
Someone is saying 5. Someone is saying 6. Any other answers?
6
Other than 5 and 6. Any other answers? So see here. If you see the output, what is happening? It is giving all the columns, and all the columns are nothing but it is giving total 6 columns. Okay, from the first table, it is given the 4 columns. From the second table, it is given the 2 columns, and which is nothing but you are going to get all the columns on top of your output. Why it is giving all the columns? Because they are given the star from table 1, star from table 2. Now some people can able to get the question. So DID column is present 2 times. Then why it is given the 6 columns here? Okay, so see here. First 4 columns are coming from the employee table only, and the next 2 columns are coming from the department table. Even column names are same also. What is going to happen? It will display all the 6 columns on top of your output screen. Okay. Now here, for example, my requirement is, if you see our Excel sheet only, in the Excel sheet, what is my requirement? I want to get data for only EAD column, ENAME column, department ID column, and DNAME column. Indirectly, I want to get data for only 4 columns only. But as part of giving this query, it is giving data for all the columns. Now, how I can able to get the only specific columns by depending on the requirement? What is the change? What is the change we need to perform on this entire query?
Instead of star, we can give the specific column names.
Perfect. So instead of star, we have to give the column names. Whatever the column names you want to pass, you have to give only those columns. So here I'm giving, for example, EAD column, ENAME column, department ID column, and one more column I'm giving it as a DNAME column. So what I'm doing here, my requirement is I want to get data for only EAD column and ENAME column and department ID column and DNAME column only. I don't want to get this country column in my output screen. So what I'm doing here, I'm given the EAD, ENAME, department ID, and DNAME. Just I will run the same query.
E.EAD.
Yeah, just 1 second. So I'm given the same query here as is. Okay. Now tell me, anyone, if I'm going to run this query, first question, how many columns we are going to get? Second question, will this query be legible or not?
No, sir.
First of all, it will throw error. Why? Because we haven't given alias.
If I'm going to run this query, what is happening? Again, we are getting the output as a syntax error saying that department column is ambiguous. Sir, already we applied the table alias name dot column name. Then why again it is given the column DID is ambiguous? What's the reason? Because in the select statement, if you observe here we are given the EAD column and ENAME column and DID column and DNAME column only. But out of all these columns, DID column is present in how many tables?
In two
DID column present in the employee table and department table. Again, your database system is getting the confusion. This DID column I need to get from which table? That's the reason it is given the syntax error saying that this column is ambiguous. Now you tell me, to overcome the syntax error, what we can do?
We give the alias.
Alias in the select.
Alias in the select. Okay, in the alias in the select, for which column we have to give the aliasing?
For column names
For the DID column. Now for the DID columm, we need to give the E.DID or we need to give the D.DID, because same column present in the both the tables.
We can give any.
So see here, by depending on your convenience or by depending on your requirement ID, either you can give it as a E.department ID or you can give it as a D.department ID, because same column present in the both the tables. Okay, that's the reason, by depending on your convenience or by depending on your requirement, you have to give it as either E.department ID or you can give it as a D.department ID. Okay. Now for remaining columns, do we need to give the alias name? For remaining columns, we need to give it or not?
No, sir.
Because
Can
EAD column and ename column present in the only employee table, DNAME column present only in the department table. That's the reason for remaining columns no need to pass any kind of alias names and but if you are going to work in the real-time projects, best practice is better to give the alias name for each and every column. Try to understand the statement and for EAD column, ename column, DNAME column. If you are not going to give any kind of alias name, it won't give any kind of error. Just I will execute this query first. See, if I'm going to run this query not giving any kind of error, it is given the data properly in the output screen. But if you are going to work in the real-time project, as per the best practices in the real-time project, in the select statement, for every column, better to give the alias name. And now, for example, if I want to give the alias names for EAD column, what's the one I need to give? E dot, or I can do D dot also.
E only.
EAD column we are having only in the employee table, so we have to give it as a compulsory E dot EAD only. Ename. E dot ename. What about DNAME?
DNAME also.
Only in the department table we are having the DNAME, so we need to give it as a D.DNAME only. Now, only for by considering the best practices in the real-time projects, we are given the table name dot column name or table alias name dot column name as part of our select statement. For every column, better to give like this. But tell me here, why I am calling it as a best practice, or why I am calling it as this is the way we need to write the queries in the real time. See, here we are discussing about employee table and department table, and you know about this employee table and department table very well. That's the reason by seeing the EAD column, immediately you can able to achieve that we are having this column in the employee table. For example, I am going to write one query like this: select underwriter ID and policy ID and claim ID. I'm giving it as a from X table, join with Y table. I'm giving some on condition on X dot ID is equal to Y.ID. For example, I am giving this query to you only. Now you try to give the answer. This underwriter ID column is coming from which table? Any guesses? Can you able to understand?
No.
For example, if I'm going to give the query like this to you in the real-time projects, before you are joining to the company, some other person worked in the project, he written the query like this. Now, after you join the company, you taken this query. Now you want to understand this query. By seeing this query, you want to understand this underwriter ID column is coming from this table. Can we able to understand this info or not?
No, sir. No,
what we have to do? First, we need to give the describe command, describe X. Then we have to give describe Y. Then you can able to get the structure of the table. In the structure, we need to see where we are having the underwriter ID. So with that, we need to find, for example, here instead of having the 3 columns, I'm having the 10 columns only. For every column, if you want to perform this kind of operation, what will happen? It will take good amount of time. Now, instead of that, for example, that person written the query like this. Now tell me, underwriter ID column is coming from which table? X. PID column is coming from which table? X. Claim ID column is coming from Y table. Now, by using this query, you can able to understand easily which column is coming from which table, or by using the previous query, you can understand that information. By using this query, easily we can able to understand which column in the select statement is coming from the which table. And actually in the real-time projects, we need to follow this as a best practice, because if you are going to give this SQL query to the other people, they need to understand the queries in the easy way. For that reason, in the select statement, for each and every column, we are giving it as a table alias name dot column name and that's the reason only just we are giving it as a E.EAD and E.ENAME and D.department name. But tell me, out of these 4 columns, for which column compulsory we have to give the alias name? For which column compulsory we have to give the alias name? For department ID compulsory we have to give it, because DID column present in the both the tables. For that reason, we are giving the compulsory we have to give the alias name for the department ID. For remaining columns, if you want, you can give it. Otherwise, you can skip it. But by considering the best practices of the real-time projects, better to give table alias name for each and every column ID. So finally, what is the query we are going to write? This is the final query for the purpose of achieving our requirement. Okay. Any questions again up to here? Please ask me. So slowly we are entering into the advanced status and so initially we started with the only basic thing. Now slowly we are entering into the kind of advanced topics. Any questions if you are having up to here, please ask me. First thing I'm saying that just we are giving select star from employee table. This is the step 1. Come into second step. If you want to add second table, then we are using join keyword. Third step, while using join keyword, we need to pass join condition by using which keyword only? Write with the answer. By using
On condition.
on keyword. Okay. Next one. If same column present in multiple tables, then what we have to apply? We have to use table alias. Okay. And the fifth statement, as per best practices in real-time projects, in select statement, better to give table alias for each column. Am I saying it's compulsory how to give or better to give? I'm saying as a better to give only. It's not mandatory, but better to follow the real-time best practices if you are going to practice the queries only. So better to give the table alias for each and every column. So with that finally what will happen? You are going to prepare the final query like this. Okay. Up to here, any conclusions or questions still if you are having, please ask me.
Sir, can we join more than 2 tables?
Yeah, you can able to join the more than 10 tables, or you can join the 10 tables or 20 tables or 30 tables. But tell me here, if you are going to join the more than 2 tables or 10 tables or 20 tables only, this basic concept is going to change, or basic concepts are same only? Your basic concepts are same. For example, just what I will do here is, I have written the same query. Now in this query, I want to join with the one more table called as a, for example, I want to join with the X table. Now tell me how we need to frame the query. If you are adding the one more table, just we have to give the one more join keyword X. For example, I'm giving alias name as a X. Okay. Now, whenever we are applying the join, what we have to do, we need to apply the one more on condition. We need to give the on condition. Now, for example, I'm giving it as a employee table ID is equal to X dot ID. So, indirectly, what I'm doing here, just in this table, I'm adding the one more table for the purpose of applying my join conditionality. Now, from this X table, for example, you want to get data for ID one column. Okay, then what we are doing here, just we are adding the third table. By using the third table, we are applying the one more join, and with that we can able to achieve the requirement. Now, for example, if you want, I'm given the one more join on the Y table. I'm given the condition is, for example, on employee.id is equal to Y.id. Now, this from this Y table, for example, you are fetching data for Y.id2 column. Now, overall, what's happening here? In this query, total we are using the 4 different tables only. Instead of having the 2 tables, we are using the total 4 different tables. But here, are we doing any new changes? Whenever we are adding a new table, just we are adding the one more join keyword. Whenever we are adding the join keyword, we are applying the on condition. If you are adding the Y table, we are applying the one more join keyword. Then we are applying the one more join condition. But why you are joining the 4 tables here? As per our example, simple example, I want to get data from the only 2 tables. So for that reason, in my example, I applied the join on only 2 tables only. But sometimes what will happen, you need to fetch data from the 3 tables or 4 tables or 5 tables or 10 tables or 20 tables only. In the situation, in your SQL query, what we can do, you can able to apply all the 10 tables or all the 20 tables. But if you are going to apply the 10 tables or 20 tables only, our basics are same. For every table, we have to apply the join keyword. For every join, we have to apply the on condition. Basics are not going to change if you are going to use the 2 tables or 20 tables or 200 tables by depending on your requirement. Okay, in the coming classes, we are going to discuss about some examples, how we can able to apply the join on the more than 2 tables only. At that time, I will give a clear example. But for now, I am giving the answer by depending on your requirement. You can able to apply join on more than 2 tables or 10 tables or 20 tables by depending on our requirement. Is it clear?
Sir, here from employee, we are having all the columns which are including department columns. For example, if any chances, if columns are not present in another table, can we take from table as master table?
No, I didn't get your question. So, for example, just will compare here once again. Yeah, here we are having here. I'm having the EID, ename, department ID, country, and here I'm having the DID, DNAME only. Now, please ask the question again by seeing this example. You are saying that some columns are not present in one table. I didn't get that. Can you please repeat that?
In department, we have DID, DNAME, which is present in employee table also.
No, 1 second. In the employee table, do we have any DNAME column?
DID.
Only DID column is there. Okay.
Yes.
Continue.
If DID is not present in the employee table, is there any chances like that?
Yeah, see, actually here just for understanding, I'm saying that I'm given the same column names only. But if you remember earlier, I told you here, for example, instead of DID column, I'm having the D_ID column. Now you tell me in our query, what's the modification we need to perform? I don't have the DID column, or for example, this is the ID column and just ID column. Okay, but you know, if you want to get data from these two tables, you know, by using which columns you want to compare the data, then what we can do here, just we need to go back to our query. In the query, instead of giving the e.department ID, what we can do simply we need to give it as a e.id column. That's it.
No, instead of DID, there have department. Is there any string or something? Then is there any chances to be like that?
No, you are going to the different.
Drawings are based on data.
No, one second. One second. Coming to first question, you are saying that I am not having the department ID column in the employee table. So for that reason, I give the example as with the ID column. Is it clear first? If department ID column is not present, so for example, here I'm having the ID column, but you know, in between these two columns, you want to compare the data. So for that reason, what we can do in this SQL query, simply we can give it as a e.id is equal to d.department ID. This query will execute without throwing any syntax error, because in the employee table, I'm having the ID column. In the department table also, I'm having the department ID column. Even column names are different also, we can able to apply the join condition. This query will not give any kind of error. That is the first question answer. Now, what is the second question you're asking? Can you please repeat that question?
In department table, instead of DID, they're having like some other email or something column. Is there any chances to be like that?
Okay, so you are saying that, for example, I'm going to apply the condition between the ID column and name column.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So for example, here I'm giving it a condition like this. Okay, now you only try to give the answer. If I'm going to execute this query, what will happen? This query will give the error because ID column is a kind of a integer column. For example, see here in my table, this ID column is integer, and in this table, for example, this is the varchar. Now you tell me, can we do the comparison between the integer columns to the varchar columns in the conditions? No, right? For that reason, what will happen if I'm going to apply the condition like this? This query will throw the syntax error. Okay. Now, for example, in this table, ID column is varchar, and in this table also department name column is varchar. Then tell me what will happen. This query will execute and it will give any error. In this table, ID column is varchar, for example. In this table, department name column also varchar. Now, in between these two columns, we are applying the condition as a ID is equal to department name. Now, this query will execute or not? This query will execute only because it is not checking the column names are matching or not. There is no such kind of dependency. What it is checking? It is checking the only data types of the both the columns only. Now here, as per this example, ID column is varchar and dname column also varchar. We are given the condition as indirectly varchar to varchar, varchar equal to varchar. For that reason, this query will execute. But tell me, if this query is executing, how many records we are going to get in the output string?
Zero.
Because it is comparing all 10, 20, 30 with the XS, YY, ZZ. But tell me, is there any match records between these two columns? No, right? For that reason, this query will give output as a 0 records. But coming to your question, even if you are having the data like this, we can able to give the conditions. But only thing is nothing but we need to ensure that those column data types should match. Okay, if column data types are matching, then automatically what will happen? Those queries will execute without giving any kind of errors. Okay, still if you are having any question, please ask me.
Yes, one is char and second one is varchar. Then it will be okay.
Yeah, you want to tell me char and varchar. Both are falling under which category? String. Okay. For example, one is integer, other one is decimal. Okay, both are falling under which category? Number category, or we can call it as a numeric category only. So whenever I'm calling it as a data type should match, please think it as from the string perspective only. Within the string, that might be the character, that might be the var character. Within the number, that might be the integer or decimal. For example, in this employee table, employee ID is a integer column. Now coming to department table, this department ID is a decimal column. Now we are given the condition as a EID is equal to DID. Now tell me, this query will execute or will give any error? Both are falling into which category? Both are nothing but numbers only. So for that reason, this query will give without throwing any kind of error. It is checking both the data types are falling into the number or not. Or it is checking both the data types are falling into the string category or not. By depending on the categories only, this queries will execute only. Now, for example, here this is varchar. I'm giving the condition like this. DID is equal to DID. Now tell me. Here DID column is a varchar, for example. Here DID column is a decimal. By considering this example, now try to give the answer. If I'm going to do the condition like this, what will happen? What will happen? Who will write this question? Here DID column is varchar. Here DID column is decimal. By considering this example, what will happen? obviously it will give the error because it is comparing varchar with the decimal, and for that reason it will give the error. So don't think that char is separate, varchar is separate. While creating the table, we are giving char and varchar separate, but in the joint condition, it is considering both are nothing but string only. Integer and decimal both are considering it as a number only. So with that, your queries will execute without throwing any kind of errors. Okay. Any other questions still? Any other basic questions? Yeah, please.
ఎస్ సార్ ఇప్పుడు ఒకవేళ డేటా టైప్స్ వేరుగా ఉన్నాయి అనుకోండి సార్, ఆ డేటా వేరే టేబుల్ ఉన్న డేటా టైప్ ని కూడా స్ట్రింగ్ అనుకోని మనం ఏమైనా ఈ ఒక కండిషన్ పాస్ చేయడానికి ఉండదా సార్, మ్యాచ్ చేయడానికి?
You can match it again, but there we have to use the cast function. So far we have discussed about the cast function. So by depending on your requirement, whenever you want to change data type of a column, whenever you want to change the data type of a column in the table, then what we can do here, we can able to use one more function called as a cast function. By using the cast function, on the fly, you can able to change the data types only. But tell me here, what I'm telling, change the data type of a column in the table while running SQL queries.
Okay.
Okay. Now tell me, for example, if you want to change the data type in the table structure, then what we have to do? In the table structure, I want to change the data type. Then what is the command we can able to use? We are using alter. Okay. But when we are going for the cast function, while running the query or while writing the query, but as per our question, if you want to change the data type of a specific column, then what we can do, we can able to use the cast function. In the coming classes, we will discuss about the cast function. But for your question, this is the answer. By using the cast function, if you want, we can able to change the data type of a column, then we can able to apply the condition in your joins queries. Okay. Any other questions still?
Sir,
In real time, we do join on more than one table before loading a table, sir, in real time.
Tell me, before loading the data, how you can able to fetch the data. For example, here we're discussing all the examples of the employee table and department table. Now tell me, in the employee table, I haven't inserted the data or I haven't loaded the data. In this situation, what will happen? Here we are having the 0 records. Okay, if you are having the 0 records, if you are going to apply the join, what will happen? That query will give output as a 0 number of records only. So here what I'm trying to say here is, after loading the data into the tables, then by using the joins, we can able to fetch the data. First statement, after loading the data into tables, to fetch data from multiple tables, we can apply join. This is the first statement only. Second statement, I can able to say, while loading the data from source tables to target tables, we can apply joins on source tables as per requirement. So try to understand the statements, both the statements only. First statement, after loading the data into our target tables, or I will mention here, after loading the data into target tables. After loading the data into my target tables, to fetch the data as per the requirement, what we can do here, we can able to apply the join. That is the one statement. Second statement, what I'm telling here, while loading the data from the source tables to the target table, on top of source tables, you can able to apply the joins by depending on the requirement. Now in this whole example, what I'm telling, I want to get the data into my output screen. Okay, now my requirement is, for example, I want to load the data like this into this table. Now tell me, in this example, in the current example only, which is the source table, which is the target table? Here in this example, I want to display the data, but here what I'm telling, I want to load the data like this into this table. Now in this whole example, what is the source table? What is the target table? We can able to say, these two tables, we can call it as a source table, and this table, what we can able to call simply, we can call it as a target table. Now what is the requirement? Into the target table, you want to load the data directly, or you want to perform the merging operation between these two tables, then you want to load the data into the target table. I want to perform merging operation between both the tables, then I want to load the data into my target table. Indirectly, while loading the data from the source table to target table, we are applying the joins. But tell me, in between what tables we are applying the joins? On the target table, we are applying the joins, or in between the source table, we are applying the joins?
Source table.
In between source tables, we are applying the join. Why we are applying the join? Because that is my requirement. As per the requirement, in between the source tables, we are applying the join. That data we are loading into the target table. So this is the meaning of the second statement only. Still, if you are having any questions on both the statements, please ask me. I know our topic is completely deviating, but because of asking this question, just I'm given the answer for this one only. But any
Clear, sir.
is
Clear.
clear, right? Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So in the select query, we can give di.did or e.did, right?
Yeah, you can give anything on it. So actually here also some things are going to change. So for now you can think that here we can give the e.did or we can give it as a d.did. But if you are going to give the e.did and d.did, it will give different kind of output while using outer joins. So far we have discussed about the outer joins, and for that reason don't think much about here we need to give the e.did or d.did. For now, please think that here if I'm given the e.did or if I'm given the d.did, both are going to give the similar kind of output. Just think like that. When we are going to discuss about the outer joins, mostly in the tomorrow session we'll discuss about the outer joins, and at that point of time I will tell you if you are going to give the e.did, what the output you are going to get. If I'm giving the d.did, what the output we are going to get. There you can able to see the differences. For now, you can think that if I'm given the e.did or d.did, it will give the same kind of output. Okay. Any other questions? See, I am spending very good amount of time to understand all the basic questions, and because why we are spending this much of time? Most of the people are having the assumption joins are complex. Just to avoid that kind of assumption, I'm spending this much of time. And if you are having any basic questions also still, please ask me. Once you are clear about all those kind of basic questions, then automatically you can able to frame any kind of queries with the help of the joins. That's the reason we are spending this much of time only on the basics. Any other questions still? Okay, if no questions, well and good. Now finally we can able to say this is the final query we can able to write for the purpose of achieving our requirement. Okay, now tell me here, for example, while performing join operation between these two tables only, I want to get data from only employee table. Now what we can do? I want to perform the join operation, but I want to get data from only employee table. Then what we can do here in this query? Select
e dot star.
Simply give it as a e dot star. For example, if I'm given the star, what will happen?
Both the tables.
If I are given the star, it will display all the columns of first table and all the columns of the second table. But my requirement is I want to get data from only the employee table. Then what we can do? We can give it as a e dot star. Or for example, my requirement is I want to get data from only the second table. Then what we can do? Department table. You can give it as a d dot star. Okay, but here I want to get data from the both the tables. Then what we can do? I want to get all the columns of the both the tables. Then what we can do?
Star.
Give it as a star. Okay, just for understanding the notations, I'm telling all these things. And if you are given the star, it will give all columns of both the tables. Okay, if I'm given the e dot star, it will give all columns of employee table. Okay, if I'm giving, for example, d dot star, it will give all columns of department table. Okay, these are all the basic things. Again, we need to understand. Okay, so still, if I have any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, we can continue.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yeah, please.
So we have two tables. Let's say EMP table, but it is and DP table. Let's in the DP table we will be add two more columns like DID, DID1, DID2, DID3, like this one. So on that basis, if you are joining with DID and with other columns like DID1, DID2, like that one. So at that time, without using primary key and foreign key, we could not get the appropriate results.
Okay, now see, for your question, I'm saying that. So you are saying that in this table, for example, we are having the DID1 column and DID2 columns, and now we are having some data like this, for example.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, can you please continue the question now? I added the columns for your understanding. Okay.
Okay. So if I am matching, see, it is not necessary DID1 contain 1, 2, 3. It might be contain 10, 20, 30. Okay. So some people will come, right? It will be matched with a DID employee.did equal to department DID2. So he will get the results, but that will not the final result. It means it is not the suitable result.
No. First tell me here, for example, in this query, if I'm going to apply the E dot department ID is equal to D dot department ID 2, are we going to get any data?
But I'm saying same thing, sir. Instead of DID, it is 4, 5, 6. We can put here 10, 20, 30, right?
Okay, that's the reason what I told you. If you see the join condition, what we discussed, we need to give the random join condition or we need to give the join condition as per the requirement.
As per the requirements.
As per the requirement. See, if you are given the as per the requirement, so if you are given the wrong columns here, then what will happen automatically? You are going to get the wrong data.
So how to get that correct column, sir? Which will be the correct?
No, I didn't get your question. Can you please repeat it?
So as per the in the requirement document only, it will be present that DID column or DID1 column.
1 second. So whomever asked the question, can you please repeat your question? I didn't get that.
My question is that if you are combining two columns tables, so without reference, how will add those?
Without, okay, you are saying that without reference,
yes,
or without primary key foreign key relationship,
yes,
how we can give the condition you're asking, or how will we get the data you're asking?
How will give the condition? See, sir, result will definitely come something.
1 second, just yeah, I understood the question. Now I will tell you the answer. Okay, so if you are going to work in the data warehousing projects, okay, or if you are going to work in the data analytics projects, we don't have any concept called as primary key and foreign key. Okay, but if you want what we can do here, we can give primary key and foreign key on top of your tables. Okay, but this is the first statement, try to understand. If you are going to work in the data warehousing projects as a cloud data engineer, generally we don't have any concept called as a primary key and foreign key in the data warehousing projects only. No, I want to give the primary key and foreign key on top of my table. If you want, what you can do here, you can give the primary key and foreign key on top of your table without having any kind of issues. Okay, this is the first statement. Now coming to the second statement, you are saying that how I can understand on which columns I need to pass join condition. Okay, to understand this, first we need to understand requirement. Okay, so from where we can able to understand the requirement only. So by using our requirement document, you need to understand the requirement. After understanding the requirement, then in that requirement document, you can see based on which columns we need to perform join operation. Okay, this is the information clearly they will mention in the requirement document. So by seeing the requirement document, you can able to understand on top of which columns we need to apply the join condition. And indirectly, I'm trying to say to apply the join conditions, primary key and foreign key are not mandatory. If you see here in my table, whatever the table just now I created, department table sometime back when I created and whether I given any foreign key or primary key on top of this table. No, right? So indirectly, I'm trying to say if you want to perform the join operations, primary key and foreign key is not mandatory. First thing. Second thing, in the data warehousing projects, most of the times we are not going to use the primary key and foreign key. That's the reason, as part of discussing about the constraints, and I told you we are having the primary key, foreign key, and we discussed about unique, check, not null, default. These are all the constraints we are having. But we discussed about all other constraints. But so far, have we discussed about what is the primary key and foreign key? No, because as part of data warehousing projects, primary key and foreign key, we are not going to use it. That's the reason I haven't spent the time on the primary key and foreign key, but in the coming classes, we'll discuss about the primary key and foreign key only. Now coming to your question, whenever you want to apply the joins, primary key and foreign keys are not mandatory, first thing. Second thing, if you want to understand on top of which columns you want to apply the join condition, first we need to understand our requirement document. In the requirement document, clearly they will specify on which columns you want to apply the join condition. Accordingly, you are going to frame the SQL queries as part of our real-time projects. Is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Sandy? Okay. Other people, by seeing all these questions, don't get any kind of confusion. you stick to your basic topics. And what are the basic topics we are discussing here? Just we are trying to understand what is the join and how we need to frame the query with the help of the joins. And don't think in your brain what is the inner join, what is the outer join. All those things definitely we'll discuss in detail, like the way whatever we discussed so far. And but first to try to understand what is the join, then understand how we need to build the query step by step. Okay, don't think that, don't see this query completely at a time. So we went in the step by step. What is the first step? Give the single table. Second step, add the second table by using the join keyword. Third step, whenever we are giving the join keyword, add the on condition. Fourth step, whenever we are given the column name, better to give the alias table alias name dot column name. Fifth step, in the select statement, we need to pass all the columns with the table aliasing. Once you can understand all these 5 steps, and with this easily you can able to understand what all are the different types of the joins we are having in our join concept. Actually, we are having the different types of the joins like this. One is inner join, then we are having outer joins. Within the outer join, again we are having the left outer join, and we are having right outer join, and we are having full outer join, and next we are having the cross join. So like this, we are having the different types of the joins, but all these joins we can able to understand very easily. But when we can able to understand all these joins very easily, and once you understand the basics. Okay, now for example, I am taking the same query. Now my requirement is I want to apply the inner join. So what I have to do in this query, and try to give the answer. I want to apply the inner join. So in this query, what's the modification?
In join, we have to
give it
place
as
in the join.
inner join. That's it. Okay. Now, for example, I want to apply the left outer. What I have to do? Give it as left outer. I want to give the right outer. What I need to do? Just give it as a right outer. I want to give the full outer. What I need to do? I need to give it as a full outer. So this is the way. See, once you understand this basic concept, and the same query, what we can do here, either you can apply the inner join, or you can apply the left outer, or right outer, or full outer, or cross join by depending on the requirement. But to understand all these things, what is the basic thing? First, you need to understand how we need to frame the query. Once you understand how we need to frame the query, then you can able to apply any kind of joins by depending on your requirement. And so here simply I can able to say we are going to apply the inner joins to get all matched records between both the tables. If you are using 2 tables, both the tables. If you are using multiple tables, we can able to say between multiple tables, and outer joins to get matched and unmatched records. Okay, cross join to get combination of all the records. Okay, so don't worry, in the tomorrow session we'll discuss in detail about what is the inner join, what is the outer join, what is the cross join. But just what I'm telling here is, if you want to understand all these types of joins in detail, first you need to understand this basic query, how we are framing the query with the help of the join, how we are given the join condition, how we are given the columns in the select statement. That's the reason around 1 hour we spent on the only basic topics, only, because once you understand the basic topics, then it is very easy to understand how to apply the inner join, how to apply the outer join, and how to apply the cross join. Here just we need to focus on in what kind of requirements we need to go for inner join, in what kind of requirements we need to go for outer join, in what kind of requirements we need to go for the cross join. All these things we can able to understand once you understand this basic query. Okay, still if you are having any questions on the basic query, please ask me. Okay, if you don't have any questions, well and good, and okay, so I will share this document to you. So please go through this document before coming to tomorrow's session. Please try to understand this basic query end to end. With that, tomorrow we are going to discuss about the types of the joins. While discussing about the types of the joins, I will give the multiple examples on employee table and department table. In parallel, I will give some multiple examples with the real-time examples, and with that, you can able to get the clear picture on top of our joins. Okay, that's all from my side. If you don't have any questions, we can able to wind up the call.
Sir, this is not related to this topic. Just
then 1 second. Then just 1 minute, right? Yeah, other people, if you don't have any kind of questions, you can able to drop from the call. Tomorrow we'll meet you at the same 8:30 in offline classes and online classes. Yeah, please continue.
Sir, when I'm inserting some data in the date column.